Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Professor Dr. Mowadat Rana. I am a psychiatrist um, and a student of human behavior. I'm currently serving as a chair of the Pakistan Red Crescent Society's task force uh, in their COVID-19 response. These days, other than the fact that COVID-19 has affected us at a physical level, I see a large number of people, probably 10 times more number of people who are affected not by the germ itself, but they're affected with the fear of catching this or an absolute denial of not catching it. This psychological state is completely different from the physical consequences of COVID-19 in our lives. And today I'd like to touch upon these so-called normal and not so normal reactions to this crisis that has invaded our life. Well, to start with, let me assure you that each and every reaction that we are having during this crisis is normal, essentially. Why do I say that even that denial and that extreme degree of terror and fear that we are experiencing is normal as a psychiatrist? Well, the reason is that human beings are not actually designed primarily to respond to crises uh, just like that. Our reaction to a major crisis in life is never organized and never so friendly and never so nice because we lack the neurobiological and a psychobiological apparatus to deal with a crisis of this magnitude alone. Human beings have gotten into the state of living in societies and to live with togetherness primarily because of the fact that they learn through the process of evolution that when extraordinary times come, when the crises come, when dinosaurs attack, or when there are ice ages, or when there are massive floods, or there are earthquakes and tsunamis, a single human being, no matter how special and important Tarzan that he is, he cannot deal with these crises alone. So human beings tend to group together. This is also a process that ants do. This is also a process that many animals who tend to live in groups tend to do. Even crows do it. When there's a crisis, they all get together. So human beings are no exception. Largely because at an individual level, we do not have the neurobiological apparatus, but when we share our apparatuses with each other, then we become a formidable force. And that is how human beings tend to conquer the crises much better when they come together. And for that, it's extremely important to start to understand that human reactions to this crisis are all normal reactions, even when they look abnormal. Abnormal reactions in abnormal times are normal. That's very, very important. So that when you're talking to each other, you do not start to label each other. You're obsessional, you're going over the board, you're too terrorized, you shouldn't really be saying all what you're saying. Why are you so fearful? So all these remarks that we make are probably kind of a little loud than what they ought to be. Let us accept the fact that we lack the neurobiological apparatus. That's why we behave like that. Okay, so what are the essential reactions that you should really be having? Well, let me tell you that human beings have another capacity which is beyond this reactive state. And if a crisis persists, that you can induct within yourself a phenomenon called allostasis. Read about it when you have time. Allostasis is beyond or a step ahead of the usual term homeostasis that you're familiar with, which you use to adjust to heat, which you actually do at the body level in terms of your temperature, your blood pressure, your pulse, etc. When you adjust to a newer crisis or a newer situation that is going to last for a few hours, maybe a day. That's homeostasis. But when a crisis persists over a period of days and weeks and months and maybe years, that is when this reactivity of human beings can let them down very badly. And they now can induct a phenomena within them, which is called allostasis. Allostasis is actually a response rather than a reaction. So what we really need to mobilize within us is a response. So how is a response different from reaction? Well, number one, response is predictive. It tells you what to do in the future rather than focus just alone on present. It helps you gain more control and therefore deal with situations in a controlled fashion rather than in a hypersensitive, hyperallergic, or a hypersensitive, hypoallergic way. It ensures that even when the damage is inevitable, it is minimized. This is also a possibility that while the damage is going on, human beings group together to reconstruct even while the damage is going on. It helps them restore order. And the most beautiful part is human beings over thousands of years have been able to defeat all that the nature threw at them and yet continue to grow and show their resilient self. And actually, this phenomena of allostasis can help them become a very special force in nature, which tends to not only defeat the crisis, actually makes them become what can be easily called a race that actually, or a being that actually grows or thrives on challenges. We technically call this phenomena the post-traumatic growth. Now, in the post-traumatic growth, what happens is that the mental immunity, the spiritual immunity is mobilized within a human being to deal with the enemy. And it is this post-traumatic growth as an allostatic response rather than a reaction to COVID-19, which is going to actually provide you with an immunity from within, a vaccination from within. While we are waiting for 1.5 years for the biological, physical immunity, this immunity through post-traumatic growth, through mobilization of mental and spiritual forces within yourself, is going to actually set free a large number of killer T cells, a large number of immunoglobulins produced through this phenomena of mental and spiritual immunity. This faith within us that is going to change the way we look at this challenge without getting overwhelmed, and having an organized response is a positive reaction, a resilient reaction to COVID-19. And this is going to actually make you feel as if you are in charge of the situation. At another level, what COVID-19 times are going to do for you as a positive reaction within you is it will increase your appreciation of existence, appreciation of life and its true meaning. It is going to make your relationships with each other even more meaningful. It has the capacity, these COVID-19 times, actually develop more belief in yourself and your personal strength and the strength of relationships that you have around you. It will change forever, ladies and gentlemen. Or it might, your priorities of life. It might actually make you an individual with a far richer existential and spiritual existence. It's a painful opportunity to learn much more about yourself that you ever knew, but to prove to yourself the powers of endurance and resilience that would never have been unleashed except for COVID-19. Thank you very much, Mr. Virus. You have shown me a part of me that I didn't know. Thank you.